Chapter 2. Now before I go any further, let me just make one thing plain right now. You cannot tell a person's sexuality by looking at the color of the person's skin. Okay? This attitude is racist and is straight from the pit of hell. But you see, there are many who actually believe that you can. They believe that you can tell if a person is gay just by looking at the color of the person's skin. Apparently, the darker it is, the more likely they are to be gay. How ludicrous. Absolutely stupid. But it's just the latest racist attitude that the enemy has sown in this already racist society. Because Christians are so full of the things of this world, some of them have developed this racist attitude. I really don't understand it. It just seems so unbelievable that people who would probably class themselves as intelligent would think in this way. But some do. This racist attitude seems to have grown due to the way black people are portrayed in the UK media. Black people are portrayed very badly, especially black women. Actually, black women are hardly portrayed at all. It's as if black women don't exist at all in the UK, well, as far as the media is concerned. It reminds me of the old joke. An alien came down from his planet to spend 12 months in the UK, in England and Scotland to be precise. In all those 12 months he only had permission to watch television. Nothing else. When his 12 months were over, he had to go back to his planet and report back to his alien boss of his observations. After the 12 months were up, he went back to his planet and his boss said to him, "So, how was Earth?" "Okay." The alien visitor answered. "Very entertaining." "Well, come on. Tell me," continued his boss curiously, "what about the different races of people I've heard about? I want more detail. Let's start with the black men and the black women." Looking puzzled, the alien visitor replied, "What black women? You see, the media has got its own agenda. It always has done. I believe to some extent it is racist in its thinking, and if you have any form of spiritual discernment at all, you just cannot miss it. They seem to want to portray a world in which black women are not a part of. Now they can't really do this too blatantly for fear of accusations of racism, so they have to be subtle. They make sure they occasionally include a black woman here or there, in a certain context. But there are a few rules that they seem to have, and they fanatically abide by them because they have their own agenda. She must not be too feminine or too pretty. In fact, the uglier the better is their motto. And the biggest rule of all is she must never have a relationship with a black man. I mean, God forbid. They couldn't have that, could they? Anyone out there with any form of spiritual discernment will know why that is. They'll be able to see behind the scenes spiritually, if you know what I mean. A black man, plus a black woman in a relationship equals what? Sex, that's what. Ugh, how disgusting. And then what? Black babies, that's what. Which means what? More black people on the earth. Oh no, we can't have that. We cannot portray that or anything that even suggests that black men and black women get together, so to speak. So as long as black men and black women are on the television, the UK media makes sure they either hate each other, disrespect each other, are oblivious to each other, or treat each other like a contagious disease. But 99% of the time, the UK media does not allow or show black men and black women even in the same vicinity, much less in loving relationships. Now, haven't you ever wondered why that is? Of course there will be those who are a bit puzzled because they haven't noticed anything wrong. Well, the reason they haven't noticed is because it doesn't affect them. As long as they see their race portrayed in a positive way, what do they care? Now, if you are of the opinion that it's a good thing that black men and black women are not seen together in loving, or even just friendly relationships on the TV, or the cinema, because you don't want to see it, you are obviously afraid of black people, have a hatred for black people, and are a racist bigot. You need to get help for that because it is not normal. Anyone who has any form of spiritual understanding and discernment must have seen the racism against black people that's been going on in the media. With spiritual discernment, you really cannot miss it. It's been going on for long enough. Black people have for far too long been portrayed in a negative way. You really have to have maturity about you to understand what's going on there. It's not everybody that's going to be able to see it. But this is a stronghold that is controlling the media today. That's why you hardly ever see any black couples on the television. That's why you hardly ever see a black man having any form of relationship with a black woman. You do not see it. It doesn't matter where it is, soaps, documentaries, reality TV, adverts, anything. If it ever happens, then it's once in a blue moon. It's very rare. They always make sure black men and black women are kept apart. Go figure. To truly understand why this is happening, you have to look at the bigger picture. It's all part of the bigger picture, or plan. And what is that plan? It is to do away with any inferior or undesirable race in the world. In other words, the black race. Oh, you didn't know that? That's because your understanding is dull. It couldn't really be any more obvious. Think it's too fanciful? Too much like a conspiracy theory gone wrong? Think this is just paranoia? Think again. You need spiritual discernment. Don't believe the people who rule would be so devious, or would ever conspire such a thing. Remember what you were told before our country went to war in Iraq. Folks, the people who rule have their own agenda. Don't you know the same thing was done in Australia many years ago? It was called the Assimilation Plan, where Aboriginal children were forcibly taken away from their families and given to white families in the suburbs to raise. By doing this, they hoped that after growing up in a white environment, the Aboriginal children would grow up and marry into the white race. They would then have mixed-race children. Their children would then grow up and marry into the white race as their parent before them had done. The next generation would do exactly the same, then the next, and the next, and the next. Eventually, all or most of the Aboriginal blood would be so diluted as to not be seen at all. The families become whiter and whiter as each generation enters a mixed-race relationship and produces mixed-race children. By this policy, the racist Australian government sought to destroy the fabric of the Aboriginal culture, destroy Aboriginal children's link with their culture, completely alienate Aboriginal parents from their children and destroy all bonds, and eventually, reap a white Australia. Many of the children grew up bitter and confused, but of course that didn't matter. The ends justified the means. And the ends they so desired was a white Australia. What a diabolical plan, straight from the pit. But you know what, the same is happening now, only in a different form. The plan is the same, only the methods differ. Whereas back then, Australia used cruel and brutal means to destroy a race of people, this country has a more subtle way of going about it. And if you are a believer in Jesus Christ and don't believe it, you need to get on your knees and pray about it and ask God to give you spiritual discernment and open your spiritual eyes.